for our Spidermans or gecko leg lifts. I actually don't know if there's an official name for this drill. I've heard it called 1,000 different things, but those are the names that stick in my head because that's what I feel like when I do it. We're going to be strengthening our glutes and our abductors, our outer hip muscles, while we're in For our Spidermans or gecko leg lifts, we're going to be working on strengthening our glutes and some of the muscles on the outside of our hips to hold our legs in an abducted position. So that's supporting the range of motion that we use for our straddles and our middle splits, strengthening our glutes to pull those legs wider. This is a variation of fire hydrants. It's a bit more dynamic, so it might be a fun challenge if you're a little bit bored of your fire hydrants as some conditioning. For this drill, for the regular variation, we're going to start on a tabletop position with hands on our shoulders, knees on our hips. And if this is something that makes your wrist cranky, you could totally do this on fists or this exercise. I'm going to kick one leg out behind me, lifting that leg to about hip height. Try not to lift it higher so my back arches. I'm going to keep my back in a neutral position. From here, your challenge is to keep both hip bones pointing to the floor. Don't let that outer hip lift. It's going to want to, as we bend our knee and start to bring that knee forwards to hip height. So you can see this end position, our thigh is facing forwards, my foot is still in back, and then I'm going to kick that leg backwards. What's probably going to happen that we don't want to is as we lift that knee out to the side, our hip is going to start to lift. It's going to say, great, I can help keep that leg in the air. That's not what we want. We want our low back staying totally flat while that knee comes forwards and we kick it backwards. So this is going to feel like a really strong squeeze in the outside of our hips and our glutes. If you suspect you might be cheating this drill, taking a yoga block and putting it on the back of your hips is a good way to keep yourself honest. So I've got this block balanced on the back of my hips. I'm starting with that leg extended behind me. I'm going to keep that block flat while I bring that knee forwards, kick it back. If I bring that knee forwards and start to let that hip lift, I can see the block starts to tilt to the side and it might even fall off my hips. If this feels really, really challenging, we can make it a teeny bit easier by taking a block under our non-working leg. That's going to keep the floor farther away from our working knee. If this feels easy and you feel like you've got a lot of space between your knee and the floor and you want it to be more challenging, we drop our hips lower to the ground. So we can start with hips on 2 blocks underneath your hips. For someone with a little something between your hips, throw those blocks under the outside hip and not directly on your pubic bone in your crotch. Starting down on my elbows, both hip bones are pointing towards the floor, kicking that leg behind me, bringing that knee forwards and backwards, not letting the knee touch the ground. And to progress it, we just keep lowering our hips each time until eventually we're working with hips on the floor, trying to keep that knee lifted or barely skimming the ground. Aim for 8 to 12 reps on each leg.
If you want to learn more stretches like this, you should totally check out the Flexopedia on my website. It's a free online library of stretches with detailed how-tos for both passive stretches and active stretches organized by muscle group. You can access the Flexopedia by going to dannywinksflexibility.com/Flexopedia or simply click the link in this video description.